welcome to another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks. I'm happy to be here at probably the best office suite in Tuscaloosa, right here on the river, with Kelsey Rush. Everyone knows Kelsey. Kelsey, our new CEO of TTS. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You are right. I have a really good view of downtown Tuscaloosa and the Black Warrior River. So every day's a good day when you get to look outside at that.
It really is. It's the best office I believe there is in Tuscaloosa. Your conference room is fantastic. Great place to have a conference. But you guys do more than just have offices. You're out here where rubber meets the road in terms of economic development and tourism. Now, you've been appointed by the TTS board as the new CEO. I think you're coming up on, when did you tell me July was kind of the unofficial, September was the official?
Mm-hmm. Coming up on a year, and it's crazy to think that it has been a year almost. It's been a lot of fun, but time flies. And, the days are long, but it's awesome when you go home at night and, I'm in the place that I need to be. It's rewarding every day that I get to come to work and I go home excited for the next day too. So,
well, we're going to get a chance to introduce a little bit about you to the public that doesn't know a lot about you. But first, let's just talk about the mission of TTS. What does TTS do every day for the taxpayers of Tuscaloosa?
Well, you mentioned tourism as a part of economic development, and I heard someone say recently, and I thought it was a very way to describe what we do, but tourism is the first date to economic development.
Hey, I like that.
I liked it too. And it's so funny because my story is that case. A lot of people, whether I'm thinking about moving somewhere or moving my business somewhere, I'm probably going to go visit that place before I make that decision. And I was fortunate that I visited Tuscaloosa. I fell in love with it very quickly, and Tuscaloosa is now my home. So tourism really is that first date to economic development. But at the end of the day, we are here for a couple different reasons. I think we are an office that helps create a brand and create awareness for this community that we all call home. We are a resource both for residents and for visitors. In addition to that, we have a sales team, so they're constantly going out and they're looking at opportunities to bring meetings, conferences, events, sports tournaments to Tuscaloosa. So we're looking at how can we bring outside guests into Tuscaloosa. And then the third part that I would say that we do is a little bit of programming and advocacy. We not only are advocates for our own organization, but for the hospitality industry too. And then we're always looking at how can we enhance that tourism experience. So an example that I gave recently was, we don't have a downtown walking tour. And that's something that the Alabama State Tourism Office is really pushing for across the state. So how can our office help facilitate things like that? So looking at programs and events that we can help enhance that visitor experience. And in return, it also does help enhance the resident experience too.
Now, one of the things that's really impressed me during your tenure has been, this is not your father's tourism bureau. And what I mean by that is, I think sometimes we have an old thinking of, well, you're here and people will just come by and you'll hand them a brochure. It's a lot different today. One of the things that you've been able to do is use technology to track where people are spending in Tuscaloosa to give us a better idea of what kind of investments to make in the tourism business. Talk about how you're leaning us into being technology rich as we look at applying that to tourism and who we attract into Tuscaloosa.
So from a marketer, I would say having access to data is really awesome because it helps us really make informed decisions. Some people may freak them out a little bit, but we have access to things like geolocation data or credit card data. So I can have a better understanding. I'll never know, hey, it's Walt Maddox traveling into Tuscaloosa, but I will be able to know, where are people coming from? Are they staying overnight? Are they doing day trips? Are they doing a long day trip versus a short day trip? It really helps us understand what markets are they traveling from so that we can do a better job of identifying where we should be advertising in the future, marketing in the future. The credit card data is great too, because again, what are they spending their dollars on? Every credit card is associated with a zip code. So again, it enhances our ability to know where our visitors are coming from. It just really helps us make informed decisions. Because it's geolocation based too, we can see where are they traveling within the community. So we've identified hundreds of points of interest in this community, and we can monitor where visitors are going. So for example, when the Dixie Youth State Baseball Tournament comes and they're hosting them at Bowers Park, we were able to say, not only did they travel to Bowers Park, but those visitors also spent time at over 250 other places across our community. The thing about data, though, is it's only a fraction of the story. Not everyone allows us to access or follow mobile devices. So, you have to take that into account when you're sharing that data, but it does help us be informed with the decisions that we're making.
So as you look over our portfolio of tourism opportunities, where's an area that you think TTS and the community needs to begin leaning in towards in this post-COVID environment?
That's a good question. So I would answer that two different ways. We have historically as an organization, I think, kind of ran from our identity a little bit. People do know us for college football, and I would say barbecue too.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, so what we are trying to do.
What we are.
It is what we are. But here's what I say is let that be the hook. Catch people that way. But then also let's take the time to demonstrate what else there is to do in this community. Since COVID, though, because of that global pandemic, outdoor recreation has become such an important piece of our selling points when we go and talk to people. The other thing that people are very interested in talking about right now is history. So when we have a chance to talk to visitors, whether it's a leisure traveler or a business traveler, we spend a lot of time talking about Alabama football, Roll Tide, but then we also spend a lot of time talking about the outdoor recreation and the natural resources we have here, our civil rights history, our Native American history, and just the history of the South in general. We've got a lot of history in this community that people are very intrigued by. So I would say outside of college football, the University of Alabama, we spend a lot of time talking about those. We have great food. We have great live music and entertainment. So those are all the things that we kind of package together when we're talking about Tuscaloosa.
What would surprise people most about what TTS does every day?
That's a good question. I would say that, people, I think it's hard to understand how we go out and do business. So again, you've got the leisure traveler, and you've got the business traveler. So on the business side, the way that we go out and we recruit sporting events, meetings, conferences, retreats, is we have to do a lot of travel ourselves to go out and connect with those points of contacts that are making those decisions. We are competing with every other city across the United States that has a conference center or an event center or space like that. So how do we go out and create and cultivate those relationships? And it's not easy because you do have so much competition. So how are we setting ourselves apart from the others? How are we creating an experience that makes someone say, I want to pick Tuscaloosa over somewhere else? And it's a lot of going to trade shows, and we call it speed dating. We just came back last week where we had 50 meetings with PR, travel writers, and group tour operators. And we sat across the table for 12 minutes and did speed dating. And we pitch our community. It requires a lot of research. It requires a lot of strategy. It requires business development. And I think that's a big part of the job that people don't understand.
So it's obvious you love this job.
Yeah.
And I have a built-in advantage that you and my wife worked together a little bit when she was in tourism before leaving, just right before the April 27th. Tornado, and just knowing you all these years and so proud of everything that you've accomplished. You're an incredibly hard worker. Your story to me is really one of the great stories here in Tuscaloosa. You came from Fort Hays, Kansas?
Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas was where I went to college. Yes.
And talk about where you grew up in Kansas.
I grew up in a small town in western Kansas, Larned, Kansas. It's a town of 3,000. The farm that my family grew up on prior to moving to Larned was outside of a town of about 300. I think it maybe is down to 150 now. So yeah, I mean, I'm from a very small community in western Kansas, and it's crazy how life brought me to Tuscaloosa.
Well, we're glad it did.
I
know Dr. Rush is glad it did as well.
And do you know we have your wife to thank for us about being together? She's the one that came together and said, I think you need to meet Dr. Rush.
I remember I was there on the ground floor of those discussions, and I think she did a really good. It's still one of her prouder moments of matchmaking.
I'm thankful for it.
And we all are. And so it makes your story so fascinating to me because you come from Kansas to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which, by the way, you had to feel really cool that you're like the the Wildcats. I'm sorry, Jayhawks. That's my bad.
It's okay. You corrected yourself. You're
good. One year we got destroyed out in Kansas playing them in football, so I still have PTSD from it. But So you're the Wildcat representative, because I know I text you at times and
Yep.
say, "Hey, what about those Wildcats?"
Yeah.
So, and that's got to make you feel good. But you've come here and everyone's gotten to know you, and you worked extremely hard and worked your way up over the years. You were telling me before we started the podcast that you were here when TTS initially moved into this new facility today.
Yep.
Talk about what it must be like now to be in charge of it.
Well, it's a full circle. So when I came back 2 years ago to the organization after being gone, I think we were gone for I was gone for 7 years in between the two periods. I literally came back to the exact same office that I was in. So it was such a full circle. I have a picture on the day that I moved out of that office in 2015. And
Really?
the day of me moving back into that office. So it's really neat to have that full circle experience. I love this industry and I love this community. It's such a fun job to be able to go out and tell the story of this community. You know, it isn't a community that I've called home for a lifetime, but it is a community I've called home since 2010. It's where I've met my husband. It's where, it has become home for me. So it's rewarding. It's awesome to see hard work pay off, but it's also a large part of why I am here where I am today is because people believed in me. You know, I just was very fortunate to work under Don Staley's leadership for a while. You've got people like Jim Page, who has gone above and beyond to help put me at tables, to have discussions and just get to be a part of discussions and have a voice at the table. People like that have really helped me get to where I am today, and I'm just really thankful for it.
Well, it comes across. I think people believe in you because they know you believe in the mission. And that's going to continue. It's exciting to have you as our new CEO. I know from where, that I work every single day at City Hall, I take great comfort in knowing that you're doing everything possible to get as many heads in beds, as many people into our community so they can spend money, which helps us, pay our police officers, firefighters, schools, etc.
Yep.
You're a real difference maker. Tuscaloosa is lucky to have you. And so congratulations on this. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that, Kelsey?
Yeah, so I would encourage anyone that's not, and even if whether you are a resident or a visitor, go and follow us at Visit Tuscaloosa on all of the social media platforms. Our website's visittuscaloosa.com. Our visitor center is a public space that is open to, again, residents and visitors. It's a great stop along the Riverwalk, but you can come in and see us Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to noon as well.
And you got a cool statue out front of Deontay.
We do, Deontay. Hey, you want to know what? That thing has been so popular over this last year. People, I have seen little kids be inspired by it. I have literally seen people box in front of it, like practice with two people, and just like that's what they're doing.
It's probably a lot safer than boxing him in real life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it is really neat to see from young to old be very inspired by a statue like that. So it's very cool.
You know what? It is cool. And the fact is, it speaks to, we should embrace who we are, but Tuscaloosa is more, and Deontay is proof of that. And I love having it here. More importantly, we love having your leadership for TTS and Tuscaloosa. And so you're going to do a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for the city's support. We couldn't do what we do without you guys.
Hey, it's teamwork.
It is, absolutely.
This has been another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks.